Chapter 1, Section 2, A View of Earth. The first thing we're going to talk about are Earth's major spheres. There are 4, and they are divided and defined according to their location and the function that they hold. The 4 that we have are the hydrosphere, the atmosphere, the biosphere, and the geosphere. So the first that we're going to talk about is the hydrosphere. It makes up all of Earth's water. That's what hydro stands for, is water. 97.5% of that is salt water. 0.5% is unfrozen fresh water. This is what we use for drinking, for irrigation, that sort of thing. And then about 1.75% of that is frozen, so our ice caps and our glaciers. The water cycle is part of our hydrosphere, and we'll talk a lot about that when we get to Unit 3. The second sphere is the atmosphere. It's a thin blanket of air. That's your definition. It contains the gases that organisms need, for example, oxygen, and it keeps Earth warm enough to support life. We'll talk about the atmosphere when we get to Unit 4. The third sphere is the biosphere. It includes all life, and it's concentrated near the surface. So it goes from the ocean floor upward into the atmosphere. So it's all inclusive. So we're including not only the biosphere here, but it has pieces that are in the atmosphere, hydrosphere, and geosphere, which we'll talk about in a minute. So we have some bacteria, some flowers, more plant life. We have animal life, human life, and then even animal life in areas such as the frozen tundra. So the biosphere, again, it's inclusive, so it's part of the atmosphere. Okay, we have some pieces of the atmosphere here. We have some of the hydrosphere here, and then we also have lithosphere. And again, lithosphere is part of your geosphere, which we will talk about in Unit 2. So remember, bio is life. So when you get to biology, you're looking at the study of life. The last sphere is the geosphere. It's your rocks and your minerals that are on or below the Earth's surface. And there are 3 pieces that you need to know about. The crust, which is the thin, cool, rocky outer skin. Then you have the mantle, which is very hot and mostly solid. Remember, I said mostly. The core is, you have 2 pieces. The outer core, which is molten metal. And then you have the inner core, which is solid metal. Okay? So let's take a little bit closer look at the geosphere. So here's our structure. We have the inner core, which I just said is that solid. The outer core, which is a liquid. Then we have the mantle, which is split into lower and upper. And then we have the crust. So your inner core is about 1,200 kilometers. Your outer core is about 2,200. Your lower and upper mantle together make up about 2,800 kilometers. And then the crust, which is the smallest, between 5 and 70 kilometers, depending on where you're at on the Earth. Okay. Now, we've taken a bit of this upper mantle and crust and kind of blown it up here. So the upper mantle, another term for that is the asthenosphere. You'll need to remember that for later on. And then we have the lithosphere, which is your crust portion. And we have 2 different types of crust. We have oceanic crust, and then we have continental crust. Okay. So plate tectonics is part of how the asthenosphere and the lithosphere interact. And basically what this theory states is that Earth's outer shell is consisting of plates, and there are several of these, that are interacting and producing earthquakes, volcanoes, mountains, and Earth's crust itself. Now there are 3 different types of boundaries, or 3 different ways that plates can move. And we will talk about that when we get to Chapter 9, which is part of Unit 2. And that's it for Section 2 of Chapter 1.